camera's over there.
Camera's over there. Okay. Hello, camera. Yay.
Hi. So, hello from SCaLE, live, PostgreSQL at SCaLE. I'm joined by Henrietta Dombrovskaya. And we're going to talk a little bit about Postgres, and we're going to talk a little bit about the conference.
What we are anticipating.
What
are the talks we're most excited about?
Cool. Yeah. So, actually, let's open up our cheat sheet and look at the schedule. So it kicks off with Magnus, as usual, talking about the new features in PostgreSQL 18. And we should also mention that all of the talks are getting live streamed and recorded.
Yes, and that's great, actually.
By the conference. So not at this link, but you will find the link on the conference website at SoCalLinuxExpo.org. And do you have any favorite features from Postgres 18?
You know what, so first of all, it will be my first time I'm listening to this installation of Magnus talk, but I know what I'm most anticipating is the feature which was announced for 17 and announced like right here a year ago, and then it was removed. That is temporal tables, because everybody knows by now how I'm passionate about supporting time in Postgres, and this year I'm even better equipped because I talked with Paul Changsworth like in the middle, so I know what he's doing and we discuss his patches. So I really hope that finally it will be there. So I'm like, that's the thing I'm absolutely like mostly excited about, and I like want to hear whether it finally makes it. So what about you?
Do you know I actually haven't kept up? And I'm looking forward to the, well, there are a few things that are exciting, changes around extensions. So we're probably getting, with Postgres 18 or the next version, a new configuration setting that allows you to load extensions from different directories.
Ooh,
so this opens up a whole lot of possibilities for immutable containers and volumes that you can mount with the precompiled extensions, obviously with implications for running Postgres on Kubernetes.
Yeah, I cannot even imagine, you know, you mentioned it and just started, you know, started to picture what new options it brings.
The possibilities,
yes, sounds really exciting.
But I would like to talk a little bit about temporal tables, because for the average user, that may not mean much. What does temporal tables in Postgres mean for the average user? What capabilities does it give them?
So as you might know, and if you do not know, you will learn now, I'm working with temporal data for over 10 years, I think like about 12 years, and out of complete desperation, I wrote my own tools to manage temporal data. So my experience is that users do not know that they need it until you give them this option. So like normally they do not think about it because they do not expect it. But I would say pretty much anybody who thinks they need audit, they actually need temporal data, because standard audit does not give you a way to quickly go back in history and see like who was doing what and why. And also standard audit surprisingly takes more space than temporal tables if they are organized with time ranges. So the best thing with Postgres that ranges have been already there for quite a while, and we just do not use them enough. And from that practical perspective, people who want temporal tables most are accountants, because what they want, can you run this report as it was at the end of Q2 last year, and not with the dates plugged in as Q2 last year, because the database state changed, but they want to know why, like 6 months ago, they saw this. And those are like, you know, my first users. I actually started doing it for the accounting team, and there are like many other options. You know, I wouldn't take all of our time because I can talk about this for hours, but it's, again, my experience, people do not know they need it until you tell what you can do.
Yeah, so now for anyone not familiar with what we're talking about, right? We're talking about time travel, we're talking about registering every version of a single row
changes. We are
and
talking about
and
registering changes.
how it has changed over time.
Yes.
So people usually implement this with triggers and separate audit tables.
Yes.
And as a consequence, you need a separate index for your audit
Yes.
table in order to go back in time and see how it changed, right?
Yes.
So having this built into the database, how will it benefit performance? Will it be able, from what you know from the implementation, right? Will it be able to use the same index?
Yes, actually, interestingly, yes, because to support temporal tables, Postgres will use gist with exclusion, and that's what I started to use 10 years ago when I started to program it. And you can do more than one time dimension using gist with exclusion. And these indices are exceptionally performant. Actually, again, when I started to use it in production, I was shocked how performant they are and how they have very little bloat. That was other thing which I was kind of afraid in the beginning. And the best part is that you do not need actually to do travel time all the time. Like, for example, when you query the current status, you just need to query where now within the effective interval of this function. So no matter whether the change was made a month ago or yesterday, whatever is within time interval, which includes now, that is your current status.
Right.
And you can also, by the way, update for the future. This way, it will be still current.
Right. Yeah, then the gist index is quite lightweight by comparison with gin, for example, because you can have it a bit lossy, and that way I assume that it would allow you to zoom into the time frame, and it would become faster the wider time range you would select.
It's surprising, and you can also pinpoint literally who touched my database at 9:03
So that's
30, and that gives you
that's like the polar opposite of a B-tree index, where in order to select to find how a user's account changed over a year, you would have to select an entire year from the index. With a B-tree index. So that's super interesting. Let's see what else we have.
Yes, let's see.
Coming up.
I could talk forever about this, so let's look at others.
So Christoph then is speaking about locales.
Yes, it's another super hot topic.
That's bound to be interesting. So Christoph Pettis always has interesting use cases that he presents from real world things that he has seen.
I love his presentations all the time. They are so engaging.
Right. Yeah. So it's always something real world. Last year, if I remember correctly, he presented the issue with people's names.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's beautiful. Yes.
First names, last names, middle names. Some people don't have a first name. Some people don't have a last name.
And sometimes you do not know whether it's first name or last name. Right. Oh, that was exceptional talk.
Really I think this is a logical continuation of that theme, that all languages have different requirements, different locales. How do you work with them in Postgres without messing it really all up?
Yes.
Because
I'm looking forward. Honestly, Jamie, there is no talk I would skip at this conference, literally, neither today nor tomorrow. Each and single, oh my gosh, it's must hear. Really excited about all of that. All right, so what else? What's next?
Yeah, next, Peter Farkas is talking about FerretDB, which is an exciting project for people that work with MongoDB. It actually uses a compatibility layer with MongoDB, but the internals of the software are Postgres.
You know what? I am super interested, and I am going to ask him tons of questions because, again, I wrote kind of like this again out of desperation and to make sure developers can work with Postgres. So I also had the apparatus to do this, and I'm so interested to see how different it is and what he used to achieve the same things. So
and of course, with Postgres, you're getting a true open source.
Yes.
foundation
Yes.
for the project. If I'm not mistaken, the FairdDB code that sits on top of Postgres is Apache 2 licensed.
Okay.
And it doesn't come with the restrictions that MongoDB as a semi-open source database comes with. The usage,
Semi-open.
yeah, so you can see the code, but the usage restrictions that apply don't really make this free software anymore, in my opinion. And there are many other databases that actually have the same viewpoint, that you should only offer the core code as open source and free software, and keep a couple of other features locked behind license restrictions. And I think they're investors or owners of the companies that make these databases and develop them, see this as a way to get back their investment, really. So how do people actually make money using Postgres is my question.
Okay, like first of all, I agree with you. There are multiple databases like this. Is it Influx like this, right? I think Influx is actually
I'm
doing
not
this.
familiar
Okay,
with it.
okay, I think so. People will correct me if I'm wrong, but no, you know what, Jimmy? Again, you know my view on this. The only way you can make money with Postgres, like actual earth money, is offering your knowledge, and you and I are doing this. That's why I always believed
Right.
in the like
But
consulting model companies.
but there are companies that actually sell Postgres-based products, and they actually do make money
Yeah.
from this. Do you think it's the value-added things that they offer with? Is it the support? Is it, how do you feel about? Well, we have to state for everyone watching, right, that the PostgreSQL license is not restrictive at all. It
Yes.
allows you to do anything you
Anything.
want with the code, like sell it,
Yes.
make derivative products, make them open source, make them closed source. And as we said, it's like in the BSD family of licenses, super non-restrictive.
Yes.
So it is reasonable for people that are not that familiar with open source, and they're more familiar with traditional box moving software sales,
Yes.
to assume that you won't be able to charge for anything Postgres related because of the license.
Again, I can tell you honestly that I know there are products which are developed on top of Postgres, and they are like people sell them and make some money. But I think that it's kind of, first of all, you need to have like very, very, very professional software development team, not the database team, because otherwise your product kind of are diminutive to the like software development quality. It's not enough to have good Postgres people, right? But again, I see more that. I might be wrong, but I see more value when people actually even look for this software. They look for Postgres knowledge, they look for support, and they look for like pretty much consulting based on this. But that's my personal. I might be biased. So I believe you've been second quadrant. Like I've not been a second quadrant, but like I had very very good relationship with second quadrant. Still have with everybody who was there, and I genuinely believe that the right thing to make money out of Postgres is just providing services related to Postgres.
Yeah, second quadrant, a company really close to my heart. Let's see. After the lunch break, we're going to continue with Devrim, who is going to talk about extensions.
Yes.
And that is a really hot topic, as we said.
Yes.
There are things coming up development-wise. We're going to be seeing ways to load precompiled extensions. Let's plug the event that's going to happen at the PGConf Dev conference in Montreal. There's a side event PostgreSQL Extension Summit
Uh-huh.
with many interesting people behind it. David Wheeler is going to be there. Devon is going to be there. Flor Dries is helping with the organization. Yuri Raskovsky, who has really strong opinions and interesting ideas on how to implement this.
Okay.
The future of extensions really for Postgres.
What day is it? Like Tuesday? What day is it? Do you know what is?
I'm not entirely sure.
Are you going to be there?
No, unfortunately, I won't be able to make it to PGConf Dev this year. But it is super interesting because one of the main reasons that Postgres is on the rise is that there are so many extensions adding capability that
Yes.
not constraining Postgres with the development flow of a traditional database, right?
Yes.
It doesn't, if you want to develop something like PG Vector that opened up all these capabilities for AI and embeddings and indexing, it didn't go through the main development workflow. We didn't have to wait for Postgres to roll it out as a feature.
Absolutely. I agree. That's like one of the superpowers of Postgres.
But at the same time, it's one of the pain points.
Yes. Yes, because then you need to upgrade extensions.
Exactly. So you need to upgrade your Postgres. You need to make sure that the new version you're upgrading with has an extension version that works with it.
Yes.
And then you have the immutability concerns that we already mentioned.
Yes.
For Kubernetes, you cannot have access to a file system and perform a PG upgrade on your current installation. You need to replace your container with a newer version, right? And if you just want to upgrade your extension, does that mean you have to upgrade the entire Postgres with a new image? That's silly, right?
Yes. Now that actually, if they will be discussing it on PGCon Dev, it will be extremely interesting. I just hope I will be able to attend and listen.
I'm really looking forward to hearing what Devon has to say about extensions.
He actually gave this talk at Chicago PostgreSQL user group, like version 0. So I know that's very rich, like lots of information. So I'm excited to hear next version.
Cool. Next up, Hamid Akhtar is talking about keeping your Postgres replication healthy, resolving conflicts for optimal performance.
Oh, okay.
How can you get into a conflict situation with replication?
I don't know, actually.
I would say if you're using it for something fishy, like multi-master. So that's going to be an interesting talk. Multi-master, a really unclear feature. There are roundabout ways to implement it as a workaround in Postgres, but it isn't really included, right? We have Postgres-based products from like EDB and PG Edge that offer multi-master capabilities, and they have a ton of code dedicated to this, like resolving and detecting and resolving conflicts. Because in a distributed system, as you know, it's really super easy to get into serialization anomalies, to get into a state where two of the servers don't agree with each other and so on.
Oh, 100%, yes.
So that's good. That's going to be an interesting talk as well. And then we have the Ask Me Anything session, which I am really happy. Really happy to participate in that, because and this brings me to another topic I want to cover. It's like Postgres has become so popular. How do we show it to people? So this session is a good is a good starting point. It's like, do you have any questions about how Postgres works or where it's going?
Yes. But that's though it's great that the session takes place here at the Linux Expo, so we will be able, hopefully, to attract audience from different areas of
Right.
open source world. But in general, I think that's like the biggest problem, because I think that Postgres is not advertised enough, like outside Postgres, because we started to go to conferences on other open source products, and there are like several community members who are very active with this, but we are not doing it enough, and we are not publicizing Postgres enough to people who are not in Postgres already. So
Right.
I think it's gigantic effort that the whole community should like focus on.
So you think we're stuck in our sort of microcosm where we love Postgres, it works for us really well, but we don't have any way to show it to other people that are not familiar with it.
I agree. And on multiple levels, it's like other database users. So if we want to say Postgres is better than like, we know all of our competitors, but we talk about this on Postgres conferences. We do not go enough, not like not, but we do not go enough to other conferences. We do not go enough to developers conferences. Why this, like Django developer should use Postgres versus MySQL, for example, we like do not advertise us. The other area which I think we like really suck is we do not advertise enough for the new generation. So that's why I'm like trying to organize trainings for students, because not a secret, students are not taught databases in colleges, or like very, very little, and they're often taught like generic SQL, and then they practice on MySQL again. I do not practice in Postgres, by the way, because Postgres is full-fledged, like actual relational database with object features. Like why there are very, very few, if any, like college courses which are based on Postgres. So that's the thing where, again, I think we should do more, and that's one of the things that I'm now trying to do with
I do have a theory on that.
Okay, what's your theory?
So let's say that MySQL and its derivatives, right, reached the state of maturity before Postgres. It was more usable in the beginning, I think. It had a few features that Postgres was missing. So all these college teachers started using it first, and they stuck with it. That's my theory.
I do not
Because
think so.
I think it's a bit of inertia. It's
Do you think so?
I don't think it's that Postgres is missing any features, right?
No, it's not missing, but I'm not sure that actually MySQL was more mature before Postgres, to be honest. I mean, but I might be like oblivious to some historical facts.
I didn't say it was better. I said it was more usable in some respects.
All right.
In the number of features that were available early on in the development of the database. So I think they had replication first.
Oh, okay.
Things like that. But Postgres did achieve stability first. And point-in-time recovery, which were super important features. Now the thing is, how do you compete in a world where you have like the MySQL Corporation, you have Oracle, basically, you have the MariaDB Corporation, you have Microsoft with their own SQL Server, IBM, Oracle, and so on. How do you compete, even if we believe that your database Postgres is better, right? How do you compete with the advertising and the marketing departments of actual companies, since Postgres is not a company?
So, Jamie, are you implying that we should have something like this with Postgres? That's your idea?
I don't know, but we certainly need to be discussing it. Like the other day, some benchmarks came out. It doesn't matter what benchmarks, but they were comparing Postgres with another database.
Yes.
And they were paid for.
Yes, for this data, by this database.
By the other database.
Correct.
By the other database's company, right?
Yes.
So they sponsored. It doesn't mean that the benchmarks were bad.
No. They were subjective, let's put it like this. We know what the problem was there, right?
I don't know if there was a problem with the benchmarks, but the point I'm trying to make is they could afford it, right? There was a company with a company structure that budgeted for benchmarks. And benchmarks, even if they're not, 100% in your favor are marketing for your product.
Yes. Yes.
Because they go up on blogs,
Yes.
they go up
Yes.
on Reddit, they go up
Yes.
on
Yes. And people just read the headlines, by the way. They do not
on
read
Hacker
the
News,
details.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's what they say.
Right.
Yes, I agree. So, Jamie, so you are saying like these products win pretty much the marketing war because there is somebody who can fund this kind of advertisement and benchmarking. So who could fund similar thing for Postgres? And do we have any organization or a structure which would take this responsibility?
Well, we do, right? We do. We have the PostgreSQL Global Development Group
Okay.
and the funds group that actually, shells out the money for things that need to be done to promote Postgres, including conferences, enabling developers, and so on. But the question is, can we compete on the same level with a company that has people working full time on marketing, on developer relations, right? I think our developer relations as the PostgreSQL project in general are us. Just people going to conferences and talking to developers
That's true.
and giving talks about Postgres features and how to use Postgres.
Yes.
But I don't think there's a concerted effort made like marketing campaigns to promote the product. And we're talking about Postgres, the product now. There are companies that offer services and products based on Postgres, but you will see that they usually promote their own product over the core Postgres
not the
product.
Postgres. Yes, yes. Even if they sponsor Postgres conferences, they still promote their own products, not Postgres.
And why shouldn't they, right? That's the point of the entire exercise for the company.
That's what they are for. So what we are lacking, Jamie, from your perspective? Because I agree with you. I agree with everything you are saying. So what we are lacking? We're lacking organization. We are lacking people. We are lacking like planning of how we allocate funds. Are we lacking funds? Because it makes perfect sense what you are saying. So what like how you see our way to better future?
I don't have clear or strong opinions on it, but I do think that a discussion needs to start. Postgres is reaching critical mass. It is accelerating. People are starting to use it more and more, and they're turning to like Stack Overflow and blogs to find information.
Yes.
The documentation, we love it.
Yeah, but
it's really dry.
We love it, but yeah.
It's really dry.
Yes.
So, how would you feel about stating that right now everything is handled by volunteers, right?
There's absolutely,
including the development, of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
Of course, people get paid by the companies that employ them to work on Postgres code, right? And we're very fortunate to have this.
Yes.
Even companies that have their own proprietary databases are paying people to work on Postgres, right? Microsoft and AWS come to mind. Are we gonna see Oracle people working on Postgres? But right now, nobody is getting paid, or nobody is. Let me phrase it better. Nobody is full-time job is to go out and promote Postgres.
Yes. No, nobody's full-time job is promotion and like strategic planning of promotion, I would say, probably. Right. Yes.
And from what you can see around you, right, we find ourselves in an open source conference, a Linux conference.
Yes.
Right. We go to, as the community, we go to open source conferences. Yes. Do we go to trade events?
No,
not so much.
No,
not so much.
We don't. No.
So maybe we need a presence there as well.
That's not a bad idea, because we kind of tend to shy away from commercial events because it's like not cool, right?
And because Postgres is not a company, right?
So,
You don't have the Postgres company
yes.
building a booth at these trade events because there's no structure to build it,
Yes.
and there's no company. So
Yes, and
I think we're missing out.
yeah. So in contrast to Linux, actually, right? We talked
Right,
about
Linux
this.
has the Linux Foundation,
Yes.
and also has a lot of powerful companies that promote Linux in general.
Yes.
I think that's the
Yes.
difference. They're not promoting only their own flavor of Linux.
Yes.
They're saying you should be using Linux. They're forming pressure groups. They're saying to local governments that
Yeah.
this works better than what you have. Open source in general works better. So these are really things to think about. I think
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's definitely the conversation not to be started. Great.
definitely. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you
For coming
Thank
here
you.
to chat with me.
Thank you.
And tolerate my blabbering.
Come on. You tolerated mine.
I hope it was interesting for our viewers. And we're just about to start
yeah.
the talks now,
Yes,
so we're
very
gonna
soon.
go in
Okay.
and hear about
So, Jimmy,
Postgres
yeah,
18.
before you finish, so I know you won't be in Chicago, but thank you so much for advertising PG Day Chicago last year's T-shirt. And hey, PG Day Chicago is coming. It will be on April 25th, and registration is open, and it will be tons of fun. Please come. Yeah, please come. Please register.
Yeah, PG Day Chicago, one of the great local events that attracts a global audience.
Yes.
Should I say?
Yes.
Right?
And global speakers. Well,
global speakers.
for local audience. So that's, I think it's a great thing
a
about
really
it.
great event that takes place in Chicago every year. You're of course part of the organizing committee and instigator
Yes.
of the event. So thank you very much for this, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.